Oh,
Oh,
go ahead.
is it going?
Yeah.
All right. Hi, kids. Welcome. Welcome to my home. This is our kitchen. The person working the camera is my wife, Tracy, and we'll probably yell at each other during this a couple of times, but that's all right. You can say you were there at the beginning of the divorce. I'm sorry that we're not in school. I know this is an unusual thing, and it's never really happened in my life. I don't know that it's happened in any of our lives. Anything like this is unusual. This is the first time I've ever tried to make a video to post to YouTube for other people to see. So this whole thing is going to be a little bit new to all of us and probably end up being somewhat ridiculous. Anyway, where we left off was cooking techniques. And when we started talking about cooking techniques, we realized that there are three major cooking techniques: moist, dry, and combination. We're cooks. We're not really bright. We can moist, dry, and then put the two together. I'm going to add a fourth one for a later demo. We're going to do some smoking. We'll smoke some ribs later, which isn't anything your culinary schools are going to tell you are a cooking technique, but it's one I'm going to show you anyway later on in this COVID-19 classroom from afar kind of distance learning thing. Anyway, come in a little bit closer. Today we're going to talk about steaming. And steaming is going to be used for small, tender products that cook relatively quickly. It is a moist cooking technique. We're going to use some steamed spice shrimp today. You could use asparagus or any other vegetables if you're one of those kind of people. But any small, tender product that cooks relatively quickly can be steamed. The other technique we're going to talk about today is shallow poaching. And again, small, tender products that cook relatively quickly are good for this technique of cooking. We're going to use some cod, and then we're going to make a sauce for the cod out of the poaching liquid. Now, speaking of poaching liquids, the first thing you're going to need is a poaching liquid. I've made a little bit of what is called court bouillon. Now, you can make court bouillon out of just about any flavorful liquid. This one is fish stock and lemon juice. You could use fermented grape juice, which you're not allowed to use because you're not old enough, but you know what I'm saying. You could also use fermented barley that comes in a liquid form, which you're also not old enough to use, but they also add flavor. You could use clam juice. You can use just water if you want. Put some herbs in it. Those herbs would be called a bouquet garni. So you would have your court bouillon, which is a fish stock or fumet, and then your bouquet garni, a bunch of herbs, maybe some mirepoix, carrots, onions, and celery, anything to get some flavor into that liquid. Come on over here and I'll show you the setup. We're going to do two things. We're going to steam, right? And I have this cool little steamer. I didn't realize we had one until I was cleaning out the cabinets. And down inside, you see we have a little bit of our court bouillon that is warming up. And I'm going to put that just a little smidge more. I put some lemons in there to get a little bit of extra flavor. And I'm going to put this on top so that the product that comes inside here, or shrimp or asparagus or whatever it is, does not come in contact with the liquid at all. Let me get the shrimp. It's been seasoned with a little bit of Old Bay seasoning because that's how you eat shrimp. And we're going to put a little bit more Old Bay on top, just because it's good for you. Put the lid on, give it a little shake to spread out the seasonings, and then we'll let that cook. Do you hear that god-awful noise? That is Abner. Tracy, show him Abner. He will be interrupting us during every one of these demos, I am sure. And that is his pig, which is his favorite toy. And I can't believe we didn't think of throwing. Okay. I can't believe we didn't think of throwing him outside. Come here, pup. Get. Like I said, there's always something to learn, and awkwardness is the rule of the day. Shallow poaching is different than steaming in that with shallow poaching, we're actually going to put our product in contact with the liquid. We want this at barely a simmer. You can, when you're doing this, finish it in the oven, but I don't want to do that because I want to do it on top. You see, we have a little layer of shallots. We have our court bouillon. The fish are going to sit on top of the shallots so that they're not really in contact with the pan. They are not fully submerged. There are two other cooking techniques that go along with the moist cooking technique that I'm going to talk about here in a second while these are working. Put the lid on, trap the steam. While these are working, there are two other moist cooking techniques that I want to talk about. One is deep poach, which is very similar to the shallow poaching, except the product is fully submerged in the poaching liquid. You're not likely to make the sauce out of that poaching liquid. Think of poached eggs, but you cook the product in there. Again, small, quick cooking, tender products. Boiling, on the other hand, which is a little bit of a misnomer because it's actually simmering, is for larger, tougher cuts of meat that need a long-term cooking process. Think corned beef and cabbage or sauerbraten. They're larger pieces of meat. They go into the moist environment. They cook for a long time. That moist environment helps to break down the collagen in the meat, and that makes that tough product tender. Turn it off.
Okay.
We're good?
Yeah.
All right. So, hi, welcome back. It's only been a few minutes, 2 or 3 minutes. Couple of things I wanted to show you before the food got done was these little steamer rigs that I've got. If you don't have a fancy schmancy steamer thing like that, you can just make your own. If you have a colander, put it in a deep pot, a little bit of liquid, use a piece of aluminum foil for a lid if you have to do that. If you don't have a colander and you don't have a lid, you can make a piece of aluminum foil, stretch it over the top of a little pan, poke some holes in it, put the plate on it. As long as your food isn't touching the liquid, you're steaming. If you want your food to touch the liquid, put a little bit of liquid and poach in here. If you want it to be deep poach, put more liquid. Make sense? Makes sense to me. The dog is still in timeout, but he'll come back before we do this. All right, so we've got two things here that are done. Our fish have finished poaching, and I'm going to take them out and let them rest. And then I'm going to reduce the liquid so that I can make the sauce out of it. Oh cool, the fish is all going to fall apart and make this really weird. That's fantastic. A bit of fish. I'm going to let this rest. We're going to talk about resting and its importance later on in a couple of demos when we talk about grilling and roasting and some of our dry cooking techniques. They look moist. This is a great way to keep moisture in your product. Set it in a little pan or something so that it can drain the excess moisture away from it while it rests. The other thing is our steamed spice shrimp are also done, and there's really not much to do to this except dump it out on your platter or the table, whichever one you choose. Hide the mess you made from your wife so she doesn't get mad at you. And that's your steamed spice shrimp. A lot of places, I'm not going to mention the name of the place, but its initials are Joe's Crab Shack, will sell you a pot, and they'll have sausage and corn and potatoes mixed in with this. It's really very simple. They'll also charge you a lot of money for snow crab legs, $22 a pound or something like that. If you go to the store and buy snow crab legs, they're half that price, And all you have to do is steam them. They're fully cooked on the boat. All you gotta do is warm them up. A little bit of drawn butter. I wouldn't put cocktail sauce on the snow crabs, but I would put cocktail sauce on my steamed spice shrimp. All right, let's go take a look at the fish sauce, see how it's coming along. Some of the liquid is starting to reduce. You can see here where the liquid was. It's coming down. And what I'm going to do for this, to finish it, is whisk in a little bit of butter. A lot of bit of butter, you know me. I could put some heavy cream in here to help out the mouthfeel. I could put more vegetables in here. I could put mushrooms or whatever I wanted on the fish. I could put some mustard in there if I wanted mustard sauce on my fish, or if I had poached some chicken or something like that. But I'm going to let that heat go down, and then I'm going to whisk in a little bit of butter. And I don't want this to come up to a boil again, because I don't want the butter to get greasy. Remember, we had talked about acid, protein, and fat to make an emulsion. There's lemon juice in that, court bouillon. There's protein from the fish, and now we're whisking in the butter as our fat. I'm also going to add some herbs. Remember earlier I had talked about some herbs into the court bouillon. Well, these are chives, tarragon, and thyme. And I'm going to put those in there to help season the sauce. And you know how I'm going to finish the sauce, right? As you guys have all known me. First, there's a little bit of cracked black pepper. Has to be there. Salt. Has to be there. You know what's coming next. Hot sauce. Yeah. Worcestershire sauce. Right? A little bit of that, a little bit of this. Finish whisking in that butter. Taste it. That's pretty good. Maybe a little bit more of this. Then I'm going to take the fish and I'll plate it up too. And take a little bit of this finished sauce, put it right over the top. Maybe serve this with some of that asparagus we had talked about earlier, and a little bit of rice on the side. And there you have it, shallow poached cod with an herb butter and steamed spice shrimp. 2 of your moist cooking techniques, 2 of the 4. Next time we get together, we'll be talking on Blackboard Collaborate about this process, and I'll answer any of the questions that you have. These videos are not recipe driven, they are technique driven. I want you to pay attention to how we make the food, and then go and try it yourself. I miss you all, I love you all, and I can't wait to see you. Oh wait, we gotta bring Abner back in. He's out of timeout now. Look how sad he is sitting next to the door. Don't turn it sideways. There you go. That is pathetic. Anyway, bye.